If your coin total is mudded after Team of the Year and you want to get some back, make sure you check out MMOXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you use my code Rema, you can get 5% off all your orders. This supports the channel greatly, and I do very much appreciate it. So what's up guys, my name's Ash and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video guys, I've got some custom tactics and player instructions for the 4-3-2-1 formation. This is my current favourite formation in this game. It is absolutely phenomenal in both attack and defence, and I'm really enjoying using it. I know people ask me a lot which formations I currently use, and honestly the primary one that I'm using right now is the 4-3-2-1 with a bit of the 4-2-3-1 when I need to, defend a little bit. So yeah, this formation absolutely fantastic guys. But just before we get into today's video, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up, as that does really help with the YouTube search algorithm. Also subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on those notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, let's get right into today's video. Okay, so starting off with the defensive style, I like to use balance. This is the same for every tactic I use because it gives you the greatest control when you are defending. When you need to press your opponent, you're able to do so manually, and when you need to drop off and be a little bit more conservative, you're also able to do that. A lot of people prefer using press after possession loss or some sort of pressure tactic, but I do suggest getting used to balance if you can, because it does make you a better player. That being said, if you do feel more comfortable with a pressure tactic, then that is fine to use. So for defensive width guys, I'm currently using this on 48. The reason for this is primarily I still want to defend quite narrowly, so I don't want that width to be super high, but at the same time I want to have more support on the wings. Like before I would use like a lower width like 40, but I was noticing it was just a little bit too narrow because people still had too much space down the wings. It just gives me more coverage of the wings when I have it on 48, but we still primarily defend in a narrow shape, which is nice. So yeah, 48's been working quite well for me. Now moving on to the depth guys, I currently have this on 55. Now the reason I have this on 55 is because I don't want to get pinned back all the time. So I don't want to be sat in my box and just pin back, and at the same time I don't want my defensive line so high to the point where we just get through balled all the time. So by having my depth on 55, I've kind of got like this nice middle ground where I'm not constantly pinned back, but I'm not in the areas where I will always get through balled. So it's just been a nice balance having this on 55. Now moving on to build up play, I just have this on balance because it suits you up for the different types of FIFA gameplay you might experience. What I mean by this is FIFA 23 has very inconsistent gameplay. It's been an issue that's been around for years where, the gameplay changes on a day-to-day basis. So sometimes it might be very quick and responsive, other times it might be slow and heavy, sometimes it might be slow but rapid, if that makes sense, like laggy but really quick. So it doesn't really make sense all the time. So I just have this on balance because it suits you up for all the different types of gameplay you'll experience. Fast build-up is very nice when the gameplay is responsive, but unfortunately that is a rarity on FIFA 23. Now moving on to chance creation, I suggest direct passing because it is the only option which will allow your attackers to move in the correct way to break through that defensive line. If you look at the diagram in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, you can see the white dots, which are your attackers. They're constantly moving around to break through that defensive line. If you look at something like balance, this really doesn't happen. They're very static and it's very difficult to actually create any chances. So direct passing, super important to use if you want to create those chances. Now moving on to attacking width, I currently have this on 45. The reason I have this on 45 is because I don't want this to be too narrow to the point where every player is like stuck to each other, because then we're not really utilizing the three forwards because they're sat on top of each other. And at the same time I don't want this to be super wide because I don't want it to look like a 4-3-3 because it's meant to be a narrow formation. So by having the width on 45, it really does fit the shape of the 4-3-2-1 where the attackers are nice and spread out but not too spread out, and we still also have like a nice narrow feel to it, which is what this formation is all about. So 45 width been super good in attack. Now moving on to players in box, I'm currently using this on 7 because I was noticing I wasn't even creating enough chances when I had this on 5 or 6, so I've just upped it even more to get an extra player into the box so we can create even more chances. Does make me a little bit more susceptible to counter attacks, but I think it's worth it because I get to create a lot more chances as as a result. So I've been really enjoying having players in box on 7, but if you guys want to lower this, that is completely fine. As for corners and free kicks, I just have these on 1 because I don't cross set pieces. I have a corner kick routine that I found out which works super well, and if you guys want to see how I take my corners and free kicks, please be sure to check the link out in the top right hand corner of the screen, and yeah, you'll find out. Now for the players you want to use in the striker position, I suggest a nice well-rounded striker, because you have to compensate for the fact that there is one striker instead of 2, so you kind of have to get the balance of the player all in one, whereas in a 2-striker formation you could get the balance of the strikers between the 2 players, so you kind of have to go for a striker which has a bit of everything in this formation, I think. So I'm using Robbie Keane because he's got the 5-star weak foot, good shooting, good dribbling, basically he can do a bit of everything, so I suggest a nice versatile striker in the striking positions. Now for the left forward and the right forward, you're going to want more like winger style players, somebody with skills, somebody with dribbling ability, somebody that's quick, able to pass, shoot, basically really good players like Di Maria, Jairzinho, they're the ones I'm using. You want to use really good winger style players in these positions. Now for the right centre mid, you're actually going to want to use an attacker, because this player is going to attack in this formation. They're not really going to act as a centre mid, so it's important that you do use a more attacking minded player in this position. It'll all make sense in the player instructions, but just go for somebody like a Neymar, an Mbappe, even a Jairzinho, Di Maria, somebody very quick, somebody with very good attacking stats in this area. Now for the middle centre mid, I suggest a defensive midfielder. This player is going to act like a CDM in this team, so I'm using the Jorginho. He has very good defensive stats and a medium high work rate. If you can get a medium high work rate, that is preferred, but don't worry if you can't. Medium high work rate, super good for the middle centre mid. Now for the left centre mid, we're going to use a more box-to-box style player, so I'm using the flashback Paul Pogba. You're going to want somebody with very well-rounded stats, and if you can, get them a high work rate, because you're going to get the maximum contribution in attack and defense. But again, don't worry, work rates are just a preference. If you can't get them, then don't worry about it too much. Now as for the fullbacks, I like to go for a bit of a balance between the two. So my left back is my more attacking minded fullback to add extra support, and then my right back is my more defensive fullback to add solidarity to the defense. As for the centre backs and goalkeeper, I just want to make them as good as possible. So yeah, just use meta players, and yeah, Chesney's still in goal for chemistry. Unbelievable. For player instructions on the striker, I just have stay central and aggressive interceptions. We have him on stay central because we don't need him drifting off to the wide areas. We've already got Di Maria and Jairzinho there, so we need him to stay central and be in those striking areas, so he is there to finish off the chances. Mixed attack, super important, because if you have him on getting behind, it will affect the build up, because he's not getting involved in the attacks. He's kind of just goal hanging, if that makes sense. He's always making those runs, and you don't really want that with this. So mixed attack sometimes means he'll sit a little bit deeper, get involved in the build up, and it will really help create more chances. So mixed attack, super good with this formation. I actually have him on aggressive interceptions because sometimes it really helps just to win the ball back higher up the pitch, and because like the striker is the first form of defense, you can kind of get away with it. So aggressive interceptions is kind of good because sometimes you can win the ball higher up the pitch, basically for doing nothing. For the right forward, I have stay central, getting behind, and aggressive interceptions. Now we have him on stay central because we don't want this player drifting off too wide, because then he'll act like a winger, which we don't want. He's meant to be like a right forward, so we don't need him drifting off to the wings, otherwise it'll feel like a 4-3-3. And we have him on getting behind because we want this player to make those runs. Where Robbie Keane sits a little bit deeper, he'll sometimes be able to play Jairzinho in behind, and just having him on getting behind really does utilize the pace of this player, and it does make this formation function really well. So stay central, getting behind on this player, and again I'm having aggressive interceptions on this player just to see if we can win the ball back higher up the pitch. Now for the left forward, we have him on completely default settings, and we have him on comeback on defense. The reason we do this is because this formation is going to defend in a 4-4-2. So by putting Di Maria on comeback on defense, we're going to have 4 at the back. That's going to stay the same. Di Maria on comeback on defense is going to come to defend as a left midfielder. Pogba will be a left centre mid. Jorginho will be a right centre mid, and Chiesa will be a right mid, which is why I said it's important to use an attacking player there, because they're not actually going to be a centre mid. So just put this player on comeback on defence so it can defend in a 4-4-2, as the 4-4-2 is a very good defensive shape to use. Now for the left centre mid, the more box-to-box player, we have him on stay back while attacking and cover centre. Even though he's a box-to-box player, we have him on stay back while attacking because we want to pick and choose when we send this player forward. You're going to see what we do with our left back, which is why this will make sense. So we want him to stay back while attacking so we can pick and choose when he goes forward. Otherwise, there is a bit of an imbalance in defence. So yeah, stay back while attacking, and cover centre means he's going to defend as one of the centre mids in this 4-4-2 thing. If we have him on cover wing, it messes it up, so you don't want to do that. So Di Maria will be the left mid, Pogba will be the left centre mid. Now for the middle centre mid, the more defensive midfielder, we have stay back while attacking, stay on the edge of the box for cross, and cover centre. So stay back while attacking, super important, because this player is not an attacking minded player. We want him to stay back because he's not really going to be much use in the attack, and we need him to be defensively sound. We have stay on the edge of the box for cross, because let's say he ends up running forward by himself on the off chance. We don't want him to run into the box. We'd at least want him to stay on the edge of the box in case we lose out, and we can retain possession. We have him on cover centre because we want him to defend as the right centre mid in this 4-4-2 thing we've got going on. So yeah, cover centre super important. So we have Pogba and Jorginho as the centre mids in this 4-4-2. And then on the right centre mid, the attacking player, we have get forward, get into the box for cross, and cover wing. We have him on get forward because this is an attacker. We want him to get forward. We want him to get involved, so that allows us to do that. We have get into the box for cross, so he always makes those transitional runs into the penalty box, and he doesn't become too conservative, so it works very well. Doesn't mean you have to cross the ball, just means he gets involved. And the most important thing is cover wing. This will make him defend as a right mid in the 4-4-2. So basically, just to confirm, we have the back four, which is the same, and then we'll have Di Maria left mid, Pogba left centre mid, Jorginho right centre mid, Chiesa right mid, Keane left striker, Jorginho right striker. That's the shape that this will look like when we are defending. Now for the left back, my more attacking fullback, I just have him on join the attack. Now the reason I do this is because sometimes this is a very narrow formation, so you do need to get extra width at times. So I just put this player on join the attack. Now I used to use overlap a lot, but I've noticed it's a little bit overrated at times because you don't really get the maximum contribution out of this player when you put them on overlap. So I just put him on join the attack and mixed attack because you still get a nice balance while getting the extra width, and this player seems to get a little bit more involved in the attack. So join the attack means we're going to get extra width in the attack and an extra player to help us create chances. Now on the more defensive fullback, we have stay back while attacking, and this should be mixed attack. The reason I had it on overlap was because I didn't really check the option, I'll be honest, because he stays back. But yeah, we have him on stay back while attacking because this is a more defensive fullback. We want him to stay back, and yeah, this means we'll always at least have a back three, and yeah, so that's why we do that. As for the centre backs and goalkeeper, I just completely leave them alone. But yeah guys, they're my custom tactics and player instructions for the 4-3-2-1. If you guys have enjoyed or found this useful, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.